Hello and welcome to June 12th IMU Board of Trustees of Electric, Water, and Communication Utilities meeting. Monica, would you like to take roll call?
Thank you. Roll call board member Sondra.
Present.
White.
Present.
Smith.
Present.
Rosbeck. Woods.
Okay, at this time I would welcome anybody from the public to step forward that has a comment. If you come to the lectern and state your name and your address for the record, please, before you jump into your topic.
Hi, Chair Smith and some other faces that I've recognized from the Indianola Municipal Board Trustees. I'm John Hagener, 1507 Lundahl Court. With me also tonight is my wife, Val Hagener. Last May, I appreciate the opportunity to just come for this public comment, and this is the process I guess we have to go through. Last June, rather, we had water in our basement due to a backed up drain pipe. To give you a little orientation, I'd like to send this map around, if you would please. If you can orient, Orchard is at the top, so that you get your map oriented. You better figure out where everybody's at. I can send some more around. We can get you some more. So at the top is Orchard. We're at 1507. You can see there's a blue X on our home. The yellow line is that there's a storm drain, and the area we're going to talk about is that circled area. When our basement backed up, we had water in the basement. We called Smith Sewer, not this Smith Sewer, but another Smith Sewer, to find out what they could do. And Smith Sewer, send this around. They came out to take a look at what was going on. When they put a camera down, they couldn't see anything. Actually, he looked down, he couldn't see anything. And then, after he jetted that line out, this is what he found. I'll have you guys just look at it now. And I don't know if you guys have seen this before. Chris, did you guys send this out ahead of time or no? This is the first time you're seeing this picture?
You said the picture. I saw the note. I guess I didn't see the picture.
Yeah, there's a picture attached.
Oh, I didn't see the
I'll
picture.
send these around, but this is the picture that Smith Sewer took. And then I called IMU staff. I think it was Ripperger, perhaps. I don't know if he's here or not, but at any rate, they confirmed that that is a IMU cable that pierced the line. And so we paid, of course, Smith Sewer the $279 to have it jetted out. We then submitted a claim on June 24, 2022. You should have the claim on file, but if you don't, guess what? I've got copies of that coming around. So my wife and I submitted the claim June 6, 24. And then we waited. We waited, of course, for the claim. It's our understanding then that after the claim went through the insurance, it was denied. We found this out. I can't remember when we found it out. And here we are now in June. Just recently, we've got a similar issue. We don't have water in our basement yet, but the sump pump is going constantly, and it does not appear to be draining. So what we're requesting tonight is to have IMU repair that pipe and reimburse our family for the $279 it was to come have Brett Smith clean out the jet the drain. Questions, comments? Val, did I miss anything?
What were you saying about your cell phones constantly running?
Our sump pump is running because we believe it's not evacuating the water. It's trying to, but...
Does your cell pump evacuate into the sewer line?
Yes, sir. So the blue X is our home. That purple line, I'm on this map again, the purple or maroon line, if you will, that is our buried sump line.
Storm drain.
I'm sorry, yes.
Not sewer. Okay.
So, I'm sorry, yes, storm drain. Then it connects to the storm drain on the street, which is the yellow. The red circle is where Smith Sewer took the picture. That's where he identified the cable was pierced. And so, is that indeed a IMU cable? Is that correct?
It is.
Okay. So yeah, I guess, any other questions?
So you, John, you said this was June 24th of last year. that you
Correct.
submitted.
I think it was about at least a 6-month process for the insurance to go through, and then we got the call and the letter that says they're not going to take responsibility, so.
And when did you receive that? Was it in the last few months or few weeks?
I bet it was probably 5 months ago-ish.
Yeah,
Oh.
I got notified on September 1st, so it was probably right around the 1st of September would be my guess. So.
Is the the penetration of it, is it the circle on the, is that where
Yes.
it was penetrated?
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, yes, that's where, yes, that is where it's at. That's where, Smith Sewer put a flag in the grounds, and this is where I found that. So as we speak, there's obviously we have a broken line with IMU cable in it, and we're wanting it repaired. So that's what we're asking tonight.
So you may know in public comment, we can't respond to you
I
tonight.
don't, but I'm
But
just,
we do
okay.
appreciate the information, and we will work with our legal counsel on how to respond. But we do appreciate the information. Any other questions for John and or Val?
Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, John. Are there other public comments tonight? Okay, then we'll move on to consent agenda. I need a first and second motion to move into the agenda. So moved.
Second.
Guess you're
Second.
recruiting
Second.
then. Roll call. Monica, would you take roll call, please?
Yes. White,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Roscoe. Yep. And Sunday.
Yes.
Okay. The first topic will be our resolution approving payment application number 2 for the Turbine 8 Controls project. Mike, any additional comments for
No
for
additional,
that?
it's been approved by
Our engineer, we've discussed it.
at that point, put in contract.
Okay. The second topic is the resolution authorizing payment to Stu Hansen Dodge City in the amount of $51,313 for a 2023 one-ton 4x4 crew cab for the electric department.
Yep, this is just the truck second truck that we've been waiting on to get here. That we got the fiber body that we're waiting on to get here in July to go on.
Is this the one we traded in the other truck for?
We
or
have
is
the
this,
truck to
separate?
trade in, that we'll trade in. Yes, we do have one we're gonna be trading in.
And that offsets
Well, we
the-
won't trade it in, I shouldn't say. What we'll do is we'll take it out to Putney, auction the truck off like we typically do. We'll take them out there.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Next topic is the approval of the May 23rd claims. Any questions or concerns? How about the June 12th claims? Any conversation related to those? Okay. Moving on to April financial reports. Doug is here. Any comments?
This is for the 10 months ended April 30th, 2023. And probably what I'm going to say is sort of the obvious, but I'll run through it quickly. One of the things, and Chris does a great job back in what I call the footnote, she says in order to maintain your A1, I think it's A minus bond rating, you need at least like 90 to 110 days. Well, in the case, one of them is 400 or 346, and I think the other one is 340. So you're way over whatever this bond requirement is. So that's a good thing. Okay, then a couple other things real quick. Like the first one is under the water sales, and I just however this comes to me, I put it in order. So that would be Fund 600. I don't know if that's your top page or not, but it would be the water sales, and you go to the far right as a percent of the budget, it's like 78%, but there's some reasons that when you adjust to the accrual in June, I'm sure that most of that will probably be made up and you'll be closer to 100%. And then under, I think it's under the fiber, a similar thing under other revenue, the fiber fund is 640 and it's at 64%. And there's a grant that I don't know if it came in May or what, but I know you've got a grant that'll make up a lot of that difference also, so.
Has that come in yet, you guys?
Yeah, part
Yes.
of that money has come in.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you'll see that on the May financial report, that will be.
And are you familiar with why we do have the grant, Doug?
Let me think here. I think it has to do with the new sewer plant and something, a county. Yeah,
Warren County.
yeah. So I'm sort of familiar.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
So that would sort of be my, yeah, those would be my points. And like I said, they're obvious if you have the time to take a look at all this. But I think, seems like we're doing well
Good.
compared to the budget.
Any questions for Doug, Chris, or Chris? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. And then finally, the approval of minutes from our prior meeting. Any questions on the minutes, updates?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
We've already, we did that to start, so we'll take roll call now to approve. Okay, all right, so consent agenda has been approved. And can we note that Adam joined? Okay, thank you. Mike, the electric utility information items?
Yeah, we'll start out with the discussion in relation to the K Street paving project.
So we sent our
Schneider,
their drawings off to our engineer to start reviewing how that would affect our overhead electrical system down K Street. Through that, we found that pretty much all the poles that are down through there are in the way of due to grading purposes for the roadway project. Whether that means poles would be out of ground or there would be fill in some places where we wouldn't have the clearances that we would need. So in that process, as we looked at it, we could move the poles as an option, or our other option is to underground all that through there. So we had our engineer give us a design of what that would look like. So we got that number back. Right now, he's estimating at $1.43 million for us to put that in. To kind of put that in perspective, that's about 2.25 miles of underground. There's some of that we would also have to do that's not on K Street. If you go over by Fairway, west of Fairway just a little bit, there's some overhead we'd have to take out of there, and we would need to get east of K Street to get all the overhead out of that intersection. And then we'd also need to go down on 17th by the dog park where it heads east towards 65, 69. We'd have to go east of K and 17th down there as well to get out of the way. As part of that, there's some things that we need to bring to you to consider is materials, number one, to get material for this project. And I should back up a little bit. Right now, my understanding is they're looking at this project would be bid out around December time, and then construction would start next spring. What we're facing is material lead times for us with that 36 to 40 weeks for switchgear. I think I need 9 or 10 of those to do this project. And then transformers are 52 to 60 weeks out. So that's kind of what I bring it to you for. It's just one of those things, if we feel like we want to possibly move forward with material, at least to go out for bids, have our engineer put that out, and then we can bring bids back to you of material and what those costs are. But then we have the other side of that as well, which is our contractor. Would I like to do this project with our own crew? I would. But right now, knowing this project's still going to be, it's going to start next spring, I know that we will still be up on the square on the corners, that we're not doing straight in line with our crews. Plus the other projects, I just don't think we have resources to do K Street with our own staff. So that leads us to, we'd also have to go out or my recommendation would be we'd have to go out for a contractor to do the labor side of things and the install. But that is definitely one thing I think we'll have to see as time goes on. There'll be a timing issue, or that will not necessarily an issue, but a timing that we'll need to consider, because once they go out for bid, we don't want to secure a contractor until they approve the project, so that we don't have a contractor project wouldn't go forward for whatever reason. If it goes forward, it's not a, we move forward, but.
So at what point in the project do we engage? Are we like right away, we're one of the things in sequence that needs to happen?
So we're one of the very first ones. They like to have us in there first thing because we are in the way of grading. The one thing I do know, we did meet with Dave from Schneider, and our engineer met on site to discuss routes and where equipment would be placed throughout the project, just to make sure it fits within the scope for them, and so that we're on the right track, that we're not designing things that's not going to fit within what the plan is. But yeah, we're one of the first ones got to be in there. There is storm water that's got to be put in, piping, so that part would be going on probably at the same time before some of the grading, so we would have a little bit of time to get the conduit in and the wire in the basements. So my hope would be we would start with that in the spring, getting the pipe in, the conduit, and then the switchgear could be set later on in the transformer. So hopefully they show up, right about the right time.
How confident are you in the plan from a design standpoint?
As far as our plan, as far as our
Well,
electrical design?
Based on what the city has given you from a street perspective?
Yeah, I think they're fairly close. Talking with Dave, that it's getting dialed in fairly close.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a few things they're still working on here and there, but from my understanding, I think it's getting fairly close.
Dave's had it for quite a while when showstoppers.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think I think they're definitely working on a few things, grading and, drainage flow as part of it.
As far as bids, is that on their side to get bids to have it done? I mean, is it still hard to get people, contractors?
So as far as on the grading side, what I'm hearing is it's maybe a little bit better now. I know Hillcrest project, it came in under budget when they bid it out to do it. So I'm hearing that across the board, that we're seeing where those costs have maybe come down a little bit.
So if we go for bids, it doesn't really cost us anything to do that.
Correct. It doesn't cost us anything to go out for bids for material. The only other thing that I would talk to Al about, maybe including as part of that, would be the conduit and the wire. I don't know for sure what the lead time is on the wire, because it is our bigger 1,000 kc mil wire that we would have to pull in that entire length. Plus the terminators on that to terminate that cable. We're seeing some of that stuff is 9 months to 12 months to get some of that stuff as well. We wouldn't need the terminators towards the end of that project. And one thing I should back up a little bit, the K Street, their plan on it, my understanding would be about a 2-year project, start to finish, or 18 months to 24 months, type of project. Two construction seasons.
So what's the window that you would be working in? So I'm assuming you would need your material day one.
So to get it there, we would need, and this is the other thing, we talked about phasing to try and help move things along, where we would maybe get conduit in and be able to dead end our overhead to let them move forward. That's a possibility. Then we would need switchgear sooner in the project. If we can get in there and get all of our stuff put in and worry about just getting the piping in and then set basements that the equipment sits on and pull that in. You know, there's definitely a lot of conduit that's got to be bored in. We're looking at 2.25 miles worth of conduit would have to be put in through the process. And we're trying to get as much of this put in the right of way as we can, but the other thing we'd have to look at is there's some easements we were probably going to need for some of this as well down through that project.
So right now, the easements, there's no estimates on the easements at this point. So that's not included in the 1.4.
Correct. Typically, we do not. Yep. Typically, we do not.
Oh, we don't have to pay for those?
Well, typically, we do not pay for easements.
Oh, you mean just,
Yep.
we
Yep.
need the easements?
We need
and
the
so we
easement,
would-
and, yep.
So, Mike, you said to underground it is the 1.43. Do you have an estimate if it was a deal with that? Not that I'm suggesting that.
No, we didn't look at that as an option with it.
So you've essentially had a decision that you do want to follow the underground.
The only reason we assume that is because everything else we're doing is going underground, so we just thought if we're gonna spend the money.
Yeah, we have to touch just about every single pole, and so the point, you gotta rebuild and replace everything. It's, direction, might as well do it right from the beginning.
So what do you need from us?
Just head nods, yes or no, whether or not we want to move forward with bids to, move forward to get the bids for material and bring that back to you.
But that does not lock us into.
It doesn't lock
anything.
us in. Nope, it just says we can go out for bid, and we would go out, get the bids, and then we'd bring the bids back and present it.
We're gonna have to get to the point though where we have to accept the bids before we're sure that the project is moving forward.
Yep, so, we're looking at, a month from now, we would probably look at, that last meeting in June, possibly the first meeting in July, is making a decision on material, what we want to do.
So the last meeting in June is 2 weeks. We can give you a response that quick.
Yeah, well, we would, June 24th would be the last meeting. So, or, not June,
July.
July,
Oh,
yeah.
I was gonna say
I
that
put
means
June,
that-
it's June, July, yeah, so it'd be July 10th or 24th. I
Okay. That
apologize.
makes
We
it
would
feel
bring it
better.
back, so yeah, we'd need to make a decision probably by the end of July. Yep.
I guess I feel like we should move with the bids.
I do too. The only additional suggestion on that is that whether it's us or Chris, have some conversation with city council and managers to make sure that heads in the same direction.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, we've had those conversations and
Well, I
I
have some more.
think they've got all their, they've got their plans. There's certainly a lot up in the air and, frankly, a lot that could go wrong. That's a little bit of my concern is I think they got the best of intentions and we're working in a timeline that's based on their best of intentions, but there is a lot that could go wrong that
I
could.
think that's what makes us all nervous is things have changed in the past with design and how they're thinking about it. And so we're trying to do our due diligence and be in good spot for them. I just want to make sure that they understand that we're stepping ahead with a little bit of a risk.
Yep.
And I mean, I think if something, not that I'm suggesting it's gonna be this bad, but if something would stop the K Street, this is something that we wanna do eventually, certainly across Fairway and down down K Street to almost the dog park. That's all overhead, that all feeds our water plant. We do, for a lot of reasons, we'll want to do that at some point. And so I think, we're kind of charging forward with this, trying to line up with their timing. I think one of the worst case scenarios if the city didn't do their project, we would have the materials and we'd still want to do this probably at some point. So we'd be sitting on inventory project that, you know, because of the nature and because of, you know, some reliability, redundancy and reliability, keeping the water plant fed on electric, we'd want to do this at some point.
So do you have any thoughts as to where the 1.4 million will come from?
And does that all come from this budget season or cycle, or will that be split over the next two?
It'll be split, I mean, we'll have to budget. We'll have to budget at the timeframe that it'll be spent now. You know, when that stuff comes in will largely play a role in when we need to incur it or what budget it specifically needs to be in. And, you know, if we go the contract route, when they perform those, and, you know, if that moves over into July, you know, some finished work might get delayed, as sometimes happen. I mean, that could spread across from this upcoming budget to, you know, the 24 budget, or 25.
So to answer Deb's question then,
Where
are
is the
these
money?
capital projects, is this where the funding comes? And we would do this in place of doing something else?
Well, so right now, we've got about 875,000 in capital budget for this year, and we won't get all the way there because of just timing of getting things done. So there'll be funds available out of that, and then we got 1.4 million in next year's budget starting in July to cover not necessarily this project,
Not
covers
all.
our capital projects. And at this point right now, with the pace that we have to go, it's very time consuming on the square. I don't foresee us probably being able to spend all that on the square. We'll spend a good chunk of money out of that for sure on it, but I think there'll be some money out of that we can reallocate to it.
So the funding sounds like it's there. We're spending it instead of doing something else at this point.
Yeah.
But this is a priority for us in the long run. We want to get this taken care of, is what I heard you guys say.
Yeah, at some point we're going to have to we're going to have to move forward at some point. Definitely those poles are going to reach at a point in time, they're going to age out probably in the next 15 years anyway, that we're going to have to do something with those poles.
So okay, so then by going forward on this, what gets bumped as for what we were planning to do?
Yep, that for my, that took care of a lot of city square stuff on that project, anticipating that it could move quicker when we did the budget. But now that we're into it, it's not going to move quite as quickly as we'd hoped, just because of the timing of trying to dig around the utilities. So
Okay.
it's probably going to bump part of the city square project as far as some of the conversion work over that we'd hope to do, in hopes that things could move quicker. It's just unfortunately just not moving quite as quickly as we hoped.
And so then does the city understand that we're not
Yeah,
going to be
we've been
able
talking.
to?
Yeah, we've been talking for a while that the poles aren't going to go away, you know, right at the end of this. That it's a process. We got to get the conduit in, and once the conduit is in, then we'll turn around and pull all the conductor in, and then we'll convert over what we can on our own with our own staff. But there's some stuff that's going to be time consuming as far as, you know, other businesses that we got to actually have an electrician contracted to come in and do those conversions that are going to be a lot more intense conversions. And then on top of that, on the South Alley, it's still going to be a while because we've still got to go up First Street, underground all that overhead line up First Street as well. So yeah, there's unfortunately the poles as far as our side goes is going to take a little while yet. And then we still, like I say, Kurt's got fiber in there. We still got to work on that. That's got to be converted as part of that whole project. And I should, not to leave him out, on K Street, he has fiber on there too. So we'll have to work with his engineer through this whole process as well. I think mainly yours would be what, handholds and conduit probably the first to get in.
So the city understands that, you know, they might have to wait a little bit on some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we have, since we've went through this way, or since we've been on this, I mean, we've been at the meetings, at streetscape meetings, you know, we've been discussing, they know the pace that, you know, we've been discussing everybody knows the pace that everybody's been going at. Yeah, it's,
Just so that they understand.
yeah,
Well,
and I
it's
mean,
their
I
two
think it's
competing
something,
projects.
I think it's something, you know, we can definitely bring up and just, and have those discussions a little bit more, just to make sure that everybody understands where we're at.
And I'm not saying that that it shouldn't be done, but I'm just saying they've got to understand there's only so many hours a day and there's only so many dollars in the capital fund.
Okay. So can we all agree that Mike should move ahead with the bid process?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Other things, we'll talk a little bit about downtown square work. Like I say, it is continuing. We're about getting close to being done on the south side of the square. Unfortunately, today, the guys were digging, and there's just a lot of stuff in that alley on the south side. But the old steel gas line, they had a section of wall where we were dug down, fell off and hit a gas service, and just that falling off broke this gas service going too. We've dug around it and been around it, and that fell in and knocked it off, and now we've got a gas leak, and they've got to go in there and rebore the gas service in because they can't splice it, and it's old.
Is this Mid-American then?
Mid-American, yeah. So, and the bad deal is, I know they're getting closer to, Mid-American is close. It's in the construction side of things for them to be turned over to be able to reroute or relocate their gas main in that south alley. It's just going to be a few weeks short of being able to do that. So I did reiterate to them, make sure they put that service in deep enough so they're not doing it a second time as part of this process, because that's what we're trying to do, is get everything lowered. So hopefully that's what happened. We are taking applications still for that metering generation tech. We're looking to get that out some more individuals. I know we're going to be posting it in the paper with the idea of also possibly talk to Alicia about it, but maybe putting it in our bill or flyer.
Have you
to
had
get it
any
out.
response yet?
We've had a few responses. I'd kind of like to get a few more just to see, you know, really in that position, really it's evolved over the years where we need somebody with a little more computer background to understand the SCADA and just the controls that we use. It's just more digitized now.
Okay.
Like I say, we're prepping for our inventory audit that's coming up here, making sure everything's in shape for that. Our solar transformers for the solar project did arrive last week. We got them unloaded, so that's a good thing. We're ready to go with those transformers. And then,
While you're on that,
yep.
do we have a timing on when that project will start installation?
Not a good one. They're finishing up some last paperwork. We still have to get get a couple of our service lines cleared. We need to get a survey team located, so we're happy with the final design and drawing. So we've kind of been waiting on that so we can get our measurements and make sure we can repair anything safely. Once that's go, they're ready to start fence construction and ordering everything. But
And I'm thinking more from a community relations standpoint, like the next year, we can do a splash, do a groundbreaking ceremony, that sort of thing, but that's still.
yeah, I'm still waiting to plan, but I'd like to get the actual final official contract signed, the installation, schedule, and then we'll kind of hit that public relations.
And then the last thing, just to let you know, is as we talked about the Hillcrest project, our engineer did get back last week the layout for the street lighting on that project, and I put together an estimate and provided that to AP, the Public Works Director, to take that for consideration to install street lights, or at least the conduits now via that store up as part of that project. So they're going to present that and see where we go with it.
That wasn't included in the plan.
It wasn't included in the project initially, correct.
So do we pay for those, or the city pays for those?
City would pay for that. It's the installation of streetlights because they own the streetlights. Yep.
It
We
seems
just
like a funny
maintain
thing to
them.
leave out.
Yeah.
Would they pay for both the streetlights themselves and the installation?
Yep, they have to pay for all the installation of it, as part of that project.
We would maintain it after.
We help maintain it for them. They still, still own them if there's major damage or whatever, then, but yeah, otherwise, minor stuff is figured into maintenance of them. And I should clarify, out of that 1.4 million on K Street does not include streetlights. That'll have to be, because it's not at our cost, it just shouldn't be, we haven't got at that point.
So we won't have to pay for that, the city?
No. So to kind of give you a little background, so when somebody puts in a new development, it's usually the contractor or the developer. We charge them directly for those new streetlights and that infrastructure that goes in to put streetlights in for them as part of it.
Is there a standard for streetlights now? I mean, I know in some of the cities are doing more low light, kind of.
Yeah, so we use the flat light LEDs, directional, so we can try to capture and try it for, dark skies.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's all I got. That's
Are you
probably
sure?
enough.
That's a pretty long list.
We can't afford any more information tonight.
Sorry.
Sorry, Justin. No way, Kurt. All right, moving on to water utility, Justin.
Yeah, I don't have anything compared to Mike, so it'll be pretty short and sweet. They finished up the water side on streetscape, so that's done until they move to the west alley, if that's this year or next year. I think it's still up in the air. We finished hydrant flushing the 1st of June here, so that's done. We unfortunately have had a fair share of main breaks. So part of that's due to, obviously, it's dry, and then with us hydrant flushing, we always have a couple. So knock on wood, hopefully those will slow down. Right now we are concentrating on the replacing concrete that we've had to take out for main breaks. So we do have quite a few of those, so it'll take us a little while to get those done.
When you say quite a few, can you give us a ballpark number?
We're 8 to 10 of them, roughly. And then we'll add more to that as we have to replace some valves and stuff, so we're trying to minimize them, but it is what it is. Lastly, still waiting on well 11 to get back. Right now it's kind of between the contractor and the pump rep. Yesterday, well 12 fell on us, which is our other big well. Had to order some fuses for it. They should be here Wednesday. And then until we get those fuses in, we really don't know if it was just a bad fuse or if there's something wrong with well 12 as well. So once we get those installed, the well company will come back down and check everything out and make sure that the well is good. Hopefully it is, since it just put in February.
So with 11 and 12 out, what's the consequence of that?
It's definitely not ideal. 9 and 10 will maintain what we have. If we ended up losing one of those, we would be put an emergency pump in. I did talk though, if well 12 is bad and we don't have a lead time on 11, we'll put a temporary pump back in 11 for now, at least so we have 3 wells and 1 bigger well.
Okay.
So we have some options.
So those are the fallback plans.
Yep.
Has this drier weather, before he retired, what river, it was some river from Canada or something that was,
Well, our wells don't draw from the rivers. We draw
The
from.
reservoir.
well, no, I know, but I mean, how's the weather? How does it affect
Are we
our
still, is our
water?
reservoir still dry?
Yeah, I think that's, yeah. That's
Oh,
what-
our aquifer? Yeah, nope, we did add 40 feet to well 12 when they did it the last time, but it's maintained and we haven't seen any significant drop. So nope, we're good there.
But you're right, it's a good thing for us to keep an eye on as dry as it has been.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, that's all I have.
K Street for you, is there any impact on water?
We do have one crossing that goes across the street that we will address when they go. Our water main, it's in the parking now, or not in the park, in the ditch. So I didn't see any
On the east side or the west side?
west side. Yep. So I didn't see any need to. It's our biggest main. It's 20-inch main. It's our main feed uptown. Knock on wood, we haven't had any issues with it. It's steel main, which has a pretty good life
So it's not
expectancy on.
impacted by the regrading?
If anything, it'll bury us deeper, but it's no different than what they've done on Hillcrest to us. So I guess it is what it is. So other than that, and then it just kind of depends on what the assessment value, how they decide to move forward with that.
Is there sewer over there?
I'm not for sure where the sewer's at either. Yeah.
Other questions for Justin? Okay, moving on to communications. Kurt?
Yep, we got some good news. Received confirmation that the new Cisco routers shipped. They're actually shipped about 6 weeks ahead of schedule, so we're starting to see equipment a little bit easier to get on our end, so that's good to see. So, but yeah, we weren't expecting it until into July, 1st of August, but it should be here this week. So, Pella transport route work continues. As of last Monday, Kramer had about 45% of the piling completed, and 30% of the boring and 30% of the handholds installed. I expect them to have made a lot of progress last week to this week, so we'll get our next status update tomorrow. But they were going to do 2 plows working from Knoxville this direction, so I think they'll have a good portion of that plowing done here in the next few weeks. So. The railroad right-of-ways, I think we finally got a solution to that the railroads were happy with. It is going to result in a small change order that I'll bring to you here in the next couple meetings. They were just forcing us to go back as far on the right-of-way as possible to cross those tracks, and that's added some footage onto the project. But split up, it shouldn't be horrible between splitting it 50-50. So.
Is that standard, the way they?
You know, it seems like it's kind of hit and miss. The engineers originally designed it kind of just in the what we would call the normal road right away, and the railroad wanted it pushed all the way back to the. Apparently, they've got a little bit of section there where the track crosses the road and stuff. So, so we're going back 150, 200 feet on some of those back into the field and crossing there and then coming back. So. The NOFA 7 South project feeder is spliced. That's the one that heads down to the new county building. And we have made a connection to the Inlet Center for the county, so they can get connectivity down there now, so they're quite happy. We will begin putting phase 2 of that bid project together probably sometime in July. Hoping to bid that out kind of like we did last year in late fall. If the weather holds, we could do it late fall project. If not, we'll do it first thing in the spring. So, but that'll be the distribution down there. So, the NOFA 7 North is just waiting for some time in the schedule to open up again. We've got some distribution splicing to do up there. Once that's done, we'll be able to put in drops and connect customers as well. We had some time set aside here a few weeks ago, but we had to do some fiber moves for the Hillcrest project and the new industrial development out there. So it's taking a few days of our time. So, and otherwise, it's been a busy summer and kind of work as usual. So.
Questions for Kurt? Can I take us back to electric for just a second?
Sure.
The alleyways that they are, I don't know how to, modeling to be part of a community space. I don't know. I think the one on the west side, there's one on the south side. I don't know if they're doing the same sort of thing on the north and east side. Is there lighting in those alleys that we will?
We've had some discussion about that as far as what's going to go in there, and I know they've been working with the downtown. There's been conversation with the downtown committee.
Have any decisions been made whatsoever?
We're putting
on those?
power over there to be able to be ready for whatever goes in there, except for that's going to be able to hit the wall. I think really what they'd like to do is put overhead string lighting and go in between the buildings.
And that's the only source of lighting?
That would be the only source of lighting. I did take, back at the time, I did take back and offered up to bore down through there and put like 2 more decorative lights on one side to kind of light the area. but I know there's an appetite to put more of a string type lighting up.
And they feel like that's safe. I mean, that from a safety perspective, they feel
You
like
know,
that's enough.
yeah, I mean, ultimately, that is maintained by the Park and Rec, usually, once this stuff's put up, so we're getting the power over to them.
Okay.
You know, and that's definitely something we talked about, you know, you worry about a little bit about, you got to keep it up high enough so somebody doesn't, you know, make contact with that as well. But, and I did express my concern with the overhead string lighting, just from our past experience when the buildings around the square got outlined around the top. The problem was the maintenance of them was extreme, and that's why they finally went away.
Thank you. I apologize for missing that earlier. Okay, any other questions on the utilities before we jump into the combined discussion? Okay, moving on to the combined electric, water, and communication action items. We have the annual salary resolution. I need a first and second motion on a resolution setting salaries and benefits for appointed officers and non-union employees of the Indianola Municipal Utilities for the period beginning June 18th, 2023. Okay, conversation?
Yeah, Kristen, want to start us off?
Sure. So the salary resolution for the union folks reflects what was negotiated in the contract, and that's a 3% across the board adjustment. And so we prepared the non-union salary resolution also with a 3% across the board adjustment. And then also we included the fringe benefits, which are the vacation and those benefits for the non-union folks. Those are in the union contract, so we mirror that with the non-union folks. And there are no changes there. This is something that we bring before the board every year just for annual
I
approval.
have a question on that. We ended up at the last minute doing Veterans Day last year. Are we not going to continue with that as part of the paid
wasn't
holiday?
listed, was
It was not listed. And so I just thought it probably is a good thing for us to have a conversation about at this point to see.
I think the city is in the midst of their conversation, and they haven't made the official change yet too. And as we end up mirroring, you know, or trying to mirror as close as possible between the city, we're kind of waiting for their final decision. Once that's been made, we'll make any changes to our,
So why are we waiting for, I mean, do we want to do it, or, I mean, why are we waiting for the city?
I mean, I think if they don't do it, it's probably a little different conversation. If you guys, you know, wanted to go forward with that and make that decision, we certainly can. But
The point is, I just want to, I mean, I feel like I don't like to do exactly what the city's doing just because the city's doing it. I mean,
Well, and more my concern is I felt like I was a scramble last year, kind of at the
was.
11th hour. This is a new contract, or new year, new benefits. Why wouldn't we just say at the start, if we think it's appropriate, that we add that holiday? Let's do it.
I know it caused problems for some of the different, you had to have some people stay, everybody couldn't take off. And so I don't know if you just shut it down.
I don't know. I just noticed it was missing, and so I don't know what everybody else thinks. It just,
we hadn't done that because of, you know, it was still in discussion. But certainly we'll bring that to the next meeting as a, you know, change to the handbook. That shouldn't take much effort, and we can make that final on our side.
I just don't want to scramble again. Either we decide to do it or we don't.
Yeah, we're not saying yes or no.
No scramble.
Come to, yeah.
okay. So we'll hold on that until the next conversation. Okay.
Are you wanting to hold just on the fringe benefits part of that? or-
Yes. I mean, I don't think there's any reason to hold a salary conversation. I just thought it was kind of a missing kind of elephant because we talked about it. And
It
then
was
it's like,
quite
why
an
do we do
issue.
it and then not do it? And so,
It was kind of an issue last year, so,
I think it was a surprise.
yeah, that's what I mean.
I mean, we are a little bit more prepared for that now. It's certainly on everyone's radar. And so it wouldn't be, nearly as difficult to accommodate. But
So I guess I do have one more question, Chris Longer. The conversation we had around medical insurance and our kind of contribution toward, did I miss that in here? Is that part of this packet conversation or
I
documentation?
think that was approved with the health insurance renewal.
It is, we just don't include it in this documentation.
We haven't.
Okay.
We would typically included like the holidays and vacations, sick leave accruals.
It feels like it's a benefit, and so I didn't know if it should be included or not. I don't know what you guys think. Right.
So as we're in the middle of talking about this, one thing that kind of has come up for discussion, I just want to bring forward for consideration. It doesn't necessarily, need to change anything for here, but not in this upcoming fiscal year 24, but in fiscal year 25, we had planned a salary study or a compensation study. That'll include, all the benefits, additionally. Again, while that was planned in 24, I do think there's probably some value to look at it sooner rather than later. And so I just wanted to offer up for discussion, moving that salary study, again, we just passed the budget, but moving that up into fiscal year 24, that'll give us a little more opportunity to make changes over time as necessary. But I think enough has changed where our original timing that lining up that with labor negotiations, there might be some value in moving that up. Now that it is a cost and not insignificant cost, it'll be in the range of $25,000 to $30,000, and that's probably a conservative value. I think it's much stands a chance to be less, but that expected range of 25 to 30, just to kind of keep you guys prepared. We would propose, and there's a couple of budgetary and maintenance related items. Again, this would be moving stuff from this year back a couple months to last year. I think we can accommodate this financially with relatively no impact, just sliding a couple things back and forth a couple of months, free up those budget dollars to do that this year. Do you have any thoughts, considerations, or questions regarding that?
Didn't the city do the same sort of, is that completed now? So would it make sense to piggyback on what the city did, given the benefits would be the same?
They certainly, I think there's probably some value in maybe GovHR, I believe is who did the cities. We'd solicit them as one of our proposals, and I think they probably have maybe a financial head start. But if somebody could do it, we've got a couple of reputable firms to contact, and if they could do a comprehensive one, there's also value in getting a second set of eyes on there as well. So, certainly when we got those bids back, that would be part of the consideration, but I think we offer it,
I also think
combination.
we talked with our law firm, and there's different utilities that have done surveys, which may align more with some of our jobs more similarly. So I do think it's a good one to go out and see what's available.
When was the last time that was done for,
Yes.
more than 5 years ago?
Yes.
More than 10 years ago?
Yes.
Has it ever been done?
So when was it done?
I'm not sure there's been like a formal salary study. I know we've done some comparisons over the years with new positions and combined positions and all that sort of thing, but I don't know that we've got like a comprehensive salary study.
Well, I think it's important that we do one for the utility and have something that we can leverage for our decision-making. I think there have been times when we kind of go back and forth with the city and we defer to the city, and I would like for us to have a place where we could put a position on the table, and I feel like we're not really equipped to do that today. So I don't know what you guys feel about it. I would agree that we should move ahead.
It doesn't affect the budget.
I think what he's saying is we have operational dollars he thinks he can use for it. So.
I know, that's what I said, as long as it doesn't,
Yeah, it's at most a couple of months of timing, you know, towards the end, we just shift some stuff around, so, it's not gonna, over a 2-year period, it wouldn't, affect anything.
Are there certain positions we should consider and certain positions we shouldn't, that we'd be able to just look at the cities, such as like administrative type positions, whereas like really we have probably those 3 as our main that would be different than the cities? Does that make a difference?
I don't know that there's enough overlap in job roles. You know, I had to bring 2 people up, but I mean, there's a couple of shared roles. Andy Lentz, the assistant finance director, the finance director, as well as the assistant city manager, where our finance director also does HR. So, you know, between the city and the utility, there's really only a half overlap, and they both do, you know, somewhat different other jobs. You know, I do think there's enough difference between our individual roles and the cities where, you know, Gov HR may be able to get a good baseline on benefits, but actual, you know, where my intent would be this would drive down to specific job duty type roles. I don't think there's a whole lot of overlap. And I do think, again, since it's been perhaps since forever where this is really done formally, that a good ground up evaluation for everyone is appropriate.
Okay.
well, you can come back with bid. I mean, here again, we're going out for bids, so.
Yep.
Okay.
I have, oh,
No, I was going to move on this particular salary resolution. and
oh,
have a
okay.
Question about it.
Then I do have one that I would like to.
For this one?
No,
Okay.
but before we move on to closed session or.
Okay. We've got a couple more resolutions.
Yeah.
Monica, would you do roll call? This is the resolution setting salaries and benefits for appointed officers and non-union employees of IMU beginning June 18th, 2023. Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, motion is approved. And then we need a first and second motion on a resolution setting salaries for union employees of the Indianola Municipal Utilities beginning the period of June 18th, 2023.
Second.
Conversation, Chris Longer. Anything to add to this one? I have nothing to add to this one. Any questions? Monica, would you do roll call on this for approving the resolution setting salaries for the union employees of IMU for the period beginning June 18th, 2023? Yes.
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 Yes. That motion also approved. You can go ahead and have them finish up in the middle. Okay. So I need a first and second motion on a resolution approving an agreement with the Environmental Systems Research Institute, Inc. I need a first and second motion.
Second.
Okay. Conversation.
All right, in your packet is a contract with Esri, and this contract isn't directly with us. That contract's more informational, but we are authorizing our pro rata signature on a 2080 entities agreement. We do have a 2080 with the county, Carlisle, Norwalk, where we share the costs of maintaining our GIS system. So as you see in your contract, this contract is for a total of $153,000. Our portion of that is a little more than $12,000. I think this, again, the 2080 agreement is is working, and it helps defer some costs. Had a 2080 meeting and slightly changed the terms. I think they ended up a little more favorable, as you see in the allocation between the cities, while Carlisle and Norwalk certainly are paying a little more per entity with the city and IMU that are basically sharing. We have two separate server licenses in there, but we're sharing a lot of the same overlap in pictography. So our individual cost is a little less than like a Carlisle or a Norwalk.
But is it true that Carlisle and Norwalk, I mean, for IMU, it looks like, for Indianola, excuse me, it looks like we have two separate payers, and Carlisle and Norwalk have one payer, so
Yes.
in essence, we're paying more.
But for Carlisle, their utility is within the city, right?
Yeah,
But that's my point.
they're similar, but they do have less, area and users, and so there's,
Okay.
we're paying more as a group, but we're also, twice as large as anything else there. So all in all, I think it's worked well and is a fair representation. So in your packet is the authorization to agree to that and continue that 2080 entity for this next contract term.
And I just want to repeat, that's a 3-year term, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Questions? Conversation? Okay, Monica, would you take roll call, please, for this? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Motion approved for the agreement on the ESRI. You call that ESRI?
ESRI.
Okay. Okay, other combined electric, water, and communication items.
Give you kind of our solar update. I have been working with Mean. The agreement, the second version of the agreement's still the main topic of discussion. I'm trying to line up a representative from Mean to be at our next meeting. Kind of give a little bit of background. They're just as an informational sharing. I think we got at least a certain couple of members that starting from the scratch, or at least there's some value to get some background about what that contract is about and what we're trying to accomplish by updating it. So I'm hoping to confirm that, and if so, that'll be at our next meeting. Also at our next meeting related to that contract, I'm working on a joint representation letter with Carlisle, Waverly, and ourselves. While we do have our own attorney, there's likely some value in the three of us combining our efforts together in having one attorney representing all of the entities, one set of questions, one set of responses. So I'll bring that forward at the next meeting.
With those three entities combined, what percentage of the numbers that mean would that account for? Because we're like, 10 or 8 or?
Yeah, we're about 10%. Waverly is about 10%, and honest, I don't know what Carlisle makes up. Just a couple more percent.
25%.
25%, 23%, 25%. So I think we'll have some better success in any of those negotiations.
Is Carlisle the only other Warren County entity involved?
In Mean, yes. There's another couple of Iowa representatives, but they're in Northeast, and I think our proximity and location, at least particularly with Waverly and being as large as they have, gives us some advantage. Adding, those people probably, it's only a marginal improvement, so likely not worth the hassle. But I do see some value in that joint representation. So both Tim Whipple and Steve Nadel will likely be from Allers will be who we're going through, so look for that agreement coming up at our next meeting. I've also worked with Gradient 9. We're met with them, getting all of our newsletter transitioned over. Our prior vendor has got one more. The July 1st newsletter will be their last one. Working with Gradient 9 about some of that solar promotion, got them into some of those drawings and working up some concepts of you know, their recommendations on announcements. And that's all I have.
So there's a strategic planning session in July.
Yeah.
I think I saw that in the minutes, but you sent email to us, because I didn't have it on my calendar, but I saw it in the minutes.
Okay, yeah, maybe the 20th.
It probably would be good to send a meeting invite out. That's a good catch. I think we talked about it. We probably didn't put it on the calendar.
And Adam may have been
I think he's out of the country at the time we talked about it.
out of the country at the time we talked about that, so yeah. Upcoming 20th, we're planning on starting relatively early in the morning, so 8 a.m. to hopefully around noontime.
Of that
Or, sorry, 9 a.m. up at the IAMU facility.
Anybody needs directions, ask me.
Just don't put it in, yeah,
We
don't put
did
it in
ask
Google Maps.
Chris to try and get us materials out sooner rather than later, so we have a chance to read through and have a position for the conversation rather than trying to catch up on that.
So is that primarily going through, kind of back through our strategic plan? And
That would be
talking about-
part of it.
Yeah, we're going to do a lot of, I mean, there's certainly some topics that we maybe haven't discussed that we want to introduce just as thought process related, conceptual related stuff. But primarily we want to review our current strategic plan, you know, maybe some updates or at least small changes, incremental changes that we think are maybe necessary from a clarification perspective. Most importantly, I think, is a little bit of a progress report, you know, looking back and, you know, looking at where we are now in comparison and our ability to accomplish those goals. Items like that are big drivers behind those.
Yeah, and I think we need to make sure, those are all really important aspects. We also need to be looking forward, so kind of our first glance to the 3, maybe 5 years out, what that looks like. Okay. Any other updates?
Are you facilitating that, or is somebody facilitating for it?
We're working together on that one this time.
I was wondering, when will, we had talked about sending us email updates so that we, you know, periodically. I haven't received any. Have you decided when you're going to begin those?
Yeah, wrapping up with the strategic plan. I was going to start, plan on starting July 1st.
Okay.
Just kind of as a start of the new year.
You know, we didn't have a meeting, our second meeting in May. That would have been maybe a good time just to even drop a quick update, because I think we go kind of an extended period of time and no sight, out of mind kind of thing. So I think it's important to just help us keep on our toes.
Yep, we can pick that up. And on that, I mean, we are in the summer construction season where a lot of our business ends up being kind of reporting on our construction progress. I think the actual decision-making board meetings where we have agreements and contract approvals, we have the opportunity to go down to one meeting a month, and we've done this in the past, and I think, you know, certainly given May's and last, you know, month of June's abilities, I think we have that ability and probably pick up in the October timeframe, going back to 2 meetings. So, you know, just as a final consideration, you know, we could make that determination for at least through October to go down to 1 meeting a month.
I'm probably a little uncomfortable going into October, but if we could even think at the end of the summer, reassess. I mean, not need them, but it feels like there's a lot of things that are kind of underway, and so what if we said in September we would, or before August, for the September meetings, we would reassess?
That's certainly
Are you guys
acceptable.
comfortable with one meeting for July and August?
Yeah,
How about all of you? I mean,
because I'll be gone in August, the first one, that first one.
I mean, we tend to hear your updates. Are you comfortable with going to one meeting for those months?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing would be is if with this K Street project with material, that would be the only
Well,
thing. We may have to jump on and do a
And
quick
I-
meeting or
yep.
something like that.
If
to push
something
things
comes up,
through.
we are not opposed to pulling together if we need to.
Yep.
Or if you want to give us an update, that's fine too.
Yeah,
That would
I
be a
can-
time that you could.
Yeah, I can do that in a little of our next meeting, just kind of.
So at this point, we're saying no second meeting in June.
Correct.
And we'll meet in July, is that July 10th? I don't know what that next date is.
Yeah, we do
Is it
the
the
second
10th?
Monday is the 10th.
Okay. Everybody comfortable with that? Okay, anything else before we move on to our other business? Alicia, anything from customer service? Okay. Monica, welcome. Thank you for taking our minutes and helping us stay on track. Jackie, is this your last meeting if we're not meeting in June? Well, thank you very much for all the support you've given us. Appreciate that.
You're smiling pretty big there.
Yeah.
We appreciate you, Jeff.
We do appreciate you.
And we appreciate you too, Monica.
Best of luck with not having IMU on your docket. I know you'll miss
Enjoy.
us. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. Okay, I need a first and second motion to enter into closed session in accordance with Iowa Code Section 21.5, parentheses 1, parentheses I, to evaluate the professional competency of an individual whose appointment, hiring, performance, or discharge is being considered when necessary to prevent needless and irreparable injury to that individual's reputation, and that individual requests a closed session. So moved.
Second.
Okay. Monica, would you take a roll call, please? Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a great night.